If you're a business leader and you keep saying you need a better marketing strategy, but your leads are probably weak, your spend feels wasteful, your growth still feels messy or even unpredictable, there's a good chance that you're solving the wrong problem. In this episode, I will want to break down why more marketing is often the wrong answer, why weak lead quality is usually a symptom and not a root issue, and how to tell whether your real problem sits in commercial strategy, go-to-market design, or actual marketing execution. And so from this episode, by the end of it, I want you to understand why more marketing does not automatically fix messy growth, why lead quality and the weakness of that often points to a bigger systemic problem within the company, how to tell whether the real issue is commercial strategy, go-to-market design, or something else, and why companies waste money when they ask marketing to do everyone's job. Welcome to Unearth with Shelly Hughes. I am Shelly Hughes. In this podcast, we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of running a profitable, passionate company. We talk about the wins, losses, and especially lessons learned about what it means to build the company of your dreams. And one quick request. The algorithm on Spotify and all these different platforms love when people hit the follow button. It is something that you can do for me and us right now to get this episode in the earbuds of more people. So if you do have 2 seconds of your time and you can just hit that follow button before we continue to listen, that would just mean the world to me. So thank you so much. Let's get to the podcast. Okay. Picture this. You're in a quarterly review. Revenue is behind plan. The pipeline does not really feel strong enough. Sales is frustrated with lead quality. Marketing says they need more budget. They probably need more time. They need more, quote, A/B testing. Leadership is looking around the room trying to figure out who to blame and what's wrong. And then someone says the line that always shows up, at least from my experience, and when they say, we need a better marketing strategy. Yeah, for sure. Lots of times heads nod, right? Maybe you reshuffle the spend. Maybe you push the team a little bit harder. Maybe you hire a new agency. Maybe you bring in a marketing leader, whatever it is. Then 6 months later, the same thing is still true. Lead quality feels off. Spend still feels hard to justify. Growth feels messy, and the business still does not have the clarity that it needs. And that is a moment I want to talk to you about today, because it's a moment that happens all the time with our clients. Because most of the time when a company says that it has a marketing problem, it does not actually have the marketing problem that is the biggest issue. It has a diagnosis problem. And so just to let you know, I own Nolia Roots. We are a revenue and growth leadership firm. And so what that means is, yes, we have a marketing background, but we've gotten so sick of people blaming marketing for everything and saying that marketing can solve all their issues in the exact same sentence sometimes. And so when I built this company, a lot of what I'm going to talk about today, it's the basis of our philosophy. So I'm excited to get into it. And so the real issue is not bad marketing, it's misdiagnosis. A lot of CEOs and operators, they use the word marketing as this catch-all of something feels off in growth, right? And marketing becomes a label for, like I said, weak leads, slow growth, fuzzy positioning, wasted spend, poor follow-ups, sales frustration, inconsistent pipeline. It's typically labeled as a marketing issue. And what happens is once everything gets shoved into that bucket, companies start trying to fix symptoms instead of the real break. And this is why more marketing, if we say more marketing, we have to do more marketing. Marketers always need more money. They always need more budget. They always need everything to help fix the problem. That's why more marketing often creates more motion, but not necessarily more clarity or momentum. And so it's also why companies can spend more on marketing and still not trust the result. A lot of companies do not have a marketing problem. They really do have that diagnosis problem of really trying to figure out what is the source of their stalled growth or slowing of growth, God forbid. And so I want to talk about why weak lead quality is often a cue to make you think, okay, maybe this isn't a marketing problem. So some people think that marketing has to bring in leads. And for especially product-based B2C companies, that's absolutely true. And weak lead quality is one of the clearest signs that the issue may be sitting a bit upstream. And so it does not automatically mean your campaigns are bad. It does not mean that you're targeting the wrong segment necessarily. But it could, right? It could also mean that your offer is too broad. It may mean that sales and marketing are working from different definitions of what a good opportunity actually means. It may mean that the market message is attracting interest from people you should have never been chasing in the first place. It also may mean that your growth engine is not designed around the kind of business you actually want as a business leader. And so it is often not a campaign problem. A lot of times it's a signal problem that I want to get into. And so I want to go into kind of 3 different strategies right now to help business leaders understand really what we do, right? And what we are, like, we support on a commercial lens, right? And what I think about commercial strategy is it definitely has marketing underneath it, but it also has business operations, it has sales, and has leadership within there. More importantly, money. And that's where the leadership comes in. So let's talk about your commercial strategy versus something like a go-to-market strategy or marketing strategy, right? A commercial strategy, it really is your money plan. And before you talk about marketing, before you even mention it, you need clarity on how the business actually intends to make money. And this sounds so simplistic, right? This is the business model for sure, but it's so much deeper than that. And there are questions that many companies, they may ask themselves, but they don't really know what the answer is, or maybe they haven't even asked themselves these questions before. I have actually been in meetings where the people in the meetings, and they're high up people, they said, we have never been asked these questions before. Within a commercial strategy, you have to think of things like, which markets are we playing in? And to answer that, you have to say, okay, what customers are the best fit? Not just the current fit. And what that can look like is a few different things. What kind of segment can you serve in the deepest way, right? I have so many ways that we can do this, but a lot of times we'll do a customer analysis where we list all of our customers who have signed in the past 18 to 24 months. And we understand, okay, what is a customer? What is the contact name that brought us in? What is their position? What is the industry? What is the size of the company? And what do we do for them? And most importantly, where do we first meet them? What was that first touch point? Was it a website? Was it an event or something else? And sometimes we look at that report. And by the way, we typically only do this for paying customers, because if a customer didn't sign, there might be a reason that this wasn't the right solution for them. So many times we look at paying customers, new customers, the last 18, 24 months. Sometimes we then ask the question, hey, are these your ideal customers? And the client might say, no, none of these. Or maybe we then have a conversation about what our ideal customer is, and we realize that we haven't had an ideal customer in 2 years. And so that is a whole different strategy, right? If they were an ideal customer, we have to double down on that. But if they're not an ideal customer, meaning maybe they don't pay on time, or they're in an industry that you're not really interested in, or you can't serve them in the deepest way, or whatever the reason is, if you're trying to change customer base, you're changing markets. You need a completely shift in your market. That's not a marketing problem, that's a commercial strategy problem. You have to ask questions like, which offers are you truly betting on? And what promise are you making for these? Are we optimizing for growth, profit, or some mix of both, right? Growth is great, but if it doesn't align with more profit, then it's not doing all that much for you in terms of actual substance. And that's something that we look at too when we look at customer fit. What products are the most profitable? We have this whole heat map that we did for a client recently from a trade show. We basically aligned everyone they talked to, what their position was, what product they were interested in, were they a decision maker? We were basically able to align the product that we know is most repeatable or most profitable, right, in that case, with who wants that kind of product and what industry they're in. So we created this whole heat map to really help us understand, okay, if we want to sell more of this product, this is exactly the kind of person we need to talk to. You also have to think, are we attracting the kind of business we actually want more of, or are we just attracting all the business? And why this matters, if this layer from a commercial strategy standpoint is fuzzy, marketing ends up trying to generate interest for a business that has not made clear business decisions yet. Marketing should only support business goals. If it does not support business goals, it is always going to be overhead. So as a leader, COO, CEO, whatever, you need to decide on what your commercial strategy is, or bring someone in like us and we can help you figure that question out there. Your commercial strategy is your money plan. And if that's blurry, leads will probably be too. And so let's talk about what a go-to-market strategy is versus a commercial strategy. So if your commercial strategy is your money plan, your go-to-market strategy is the engine. And once the money plan is clear, the next question is how the whole growth system actually works. And you have to ask yourself questions like, how do marketing, sales, and customer success work together? What is that relationship? How do they talk? How do they support each other? When does the customer touch each department? And how do the departments have one cohesive message and one cohesive unit versus completely separate within the company? You can ask yourself, what is a path from first touch to close to expansion and upselling and retention, right? What is that customer journey? We have lots of different tools in our Nolia Roots method, in that toolbox, but a lot of times companies and leadership don't understand what that customer journey looks like, from hearing your name for the first time to visiting your page or site or something like that, to educating themselves, to the proposed phase, to closing, to comparing, evaluate, all, and becoming a retaining, referring customer. They don't really know what the peaks and valleys and frustrations and friction points there are in that journey. So that is a really interesting path and journey to map out with the go-to-market strategy. What does a qualified opportunity actually mean in the business? And everyone has to get on board with this. And is this aligned with what we have done previously? And if it's not, then we have to go back up to the commercial strategy and say, okay, we're trying to enter into basically a whole new market. If you've been focusing on B2B, when you're realizing that your ideal customer is actually B2C companies, that's an entirely new go-to-market strategy that you would have to build out. You can't do that. They don't buy the same, obviously. With this go-to-market strategy, you have to figure out, where do handoffs happen? How does sales hand off to marketing or vice versa, right? What numbers should we expect at each stage? Who owns those numbers? Maybe it's on the P&L, maybe it's some other metric. And is this system built intentionally, or is everyone just doing their own part and hoping it all adds up? These are all really important questions to talk about when you think about that go-to-market strategy. And this is where messy growth tends to live, because marketing attracts people that sales possibly does not want. Sales chases deals that do not fit the business just because they have a commission that they want to hit, and they go after the small guys when, just to get some money in the door instead of really putting a lot of effort into the big whales. Follow-up is weak or inconsistent, or there's not enough data or accountability to understand who to follow up with. If you had that heat map that I just told you about, you would know. Or there's no accountability of that, right? The CRM is not up to date, whatever that looks like. It could be that the buyer journey breaks between functions. So if there's a handoff between marketing and sales, marketing might be promising one thing where sales is saying another thing, and that's where conversion really dips. And the thing about all of this is that no one owns the full commercial system and the execution of that. So if go-to-market strategy is saying different from the commercial strategy, then that's a huge issue in itself. And so your go-to-market strategy is the engine. And if the engine is poorly designed, better fuel for that engine will not be able to save it. And then we go into marketing strategy. It's much narrower and more simple than people think. Your marketing strategy matters, but it is not meant to carry the weight of a broken commercial system. And so marketing strategy should answer who we're talking to, what we're saying, where we're showing up, how we build trust and demand. It should show the money plan and really feed the go-to-market engine. So supporting both of those things, but it should not be expected to solve unclear segmentation. It can't solve poor handoffs from sales to marketing or client experience. It can't solve for bad fit customers, and it can't solve for sales misalignment all by itself. When companies skip the first two layers and jump straight to marketing, they often get more content, they get more campaigns, they get more things checked off the list, they get more reporting, and unfortunately they get the same frustration. And so marketing can amplify clarity, but it cannot create clarity out of chaos, right? I want to talk about why companies keep wasting money and time here. This confusion is often very expensive because it sends money to tactics before the business has named the main problem. And a lot of times you keep spending because you think more activity and more marketing budget will fix these weak outcomes. More A/B testing is everything I hear. You hire agencies or internal marketers into fuzzy conditions. They don't really know where to go. I heard of someone who got hired and they weren't exactly sure what the company even did, but they were too afraid to ask. And then 6 months later, they still didn't know what the company did. And so again, this is a leadership problem. It was a leadership problem for sure. But this person was doing marketing for a company when they didn't actually know what the company was doing. So very just interesting. Talk about fuzzy conditions. What this can also do is a lot of times leadership will then judge performance against goals that the system was not really built to hit. So you're setting the whole system up for failure. You keep asking for better leads without fixing targeting, messaging, offers, or sales alignment. And offers is a really big thing here. It's what is your offer that marketing can use to help with that conversion or help with that quality of leads. Alex Hormozy says it best, where offer is, it's the value basically times the perceived likelihood of achievement below effort and sacrifice and time delay, right? That's the value. And that's how you develop an offer. It's like, what is your offer? Your offer, yes, aligns with your product, but your offer has to be the messaging and the value behind your product. And here's the thing, a lot of times these leaders, they burn cash trying to force revenue through a system that's not designed clearly. And so a lot of times a wasted marketing spend is often the bill you pay for solving the wrong problem. That's typically not originally a marketing problem. And so here's how to tell which problem you probably actually have. So instead of asking, what is our marketing strategy? Here are some better questions you can ask yourself. You can ask yourself, is our commercial strategy clear? Again, the money plan, the offer, why people are giving us money. Do we know which customers we actually want more of? And are they the customers that we currently have a track history of? If they're different, that is a huge issue, right? Is our go-to-market system designed as one connected engine, or is it all these displaced, miscommunicated phases of a journey, which is where a lot of customers drop off? Do sales and marketing agree on what a good lead actually is defined as? Are we attracting the wrong people or failing to convert the right ones? Again, all this aligns. And basically, are we trying to fix a strategy problem with more and more marketing activity? The goal is not to fix all three of these layers at once. The commercial strategy, the go-to-market strategy, and the marketing strategy. The goal is not to fix all these at once. The goal is to find the highest leverage and most expensive break and start there. It does not start with tactics. It starts with that break. And so here's the thing. This is exactly the kind of work Nolia does. So I can talk about this all day long. This is not some abstract theory, right? This is exactly the kind of work that we are brought in to do through the Nolia Roots method. We're often brought in when growth feels messy, when spend feels really hard to justify, and nobody is really fully confident on what's actually working. We are not marketers. We are revenue and growth leadership. That's what we are. That's what we do. Marketing is a huge part of that, but you can't marketing is at the bottom of that. You have to start at the top. We help companies diagnose whether the real issue is commercial clarity, whether it's go-to-market design, buyer journey friction, weak alignment, or is it actual marketing execution? Are the best practices being done? And we do not just make marketing prettier. That's not what we do. We help leaders see where the system is breaking, what needs to be owned, what needs to be aligned, and honestly, what many times has to be rebuilt. And this is not about doing more marketing. This is about getting the system right. So next time someone in your business says, we need a better marketing strategy, I want you to pause. Because here's the thing, maybe you do. Maybe you need a better strategy on how to get in front of the right people, on how to get in front of the right rooms. What pond do you need to fish in to catch the right fish, right? But maybe your weak lead quality is telling you something a bit bigger. Maybe your wasted spend is telling you something bigger. And a lot of times, again, this is where marketing is the scapegoat many times because we blame it on marketing. And here's the thing, I'm sure that your due diligence when you hire people, right? You do your due diligence, you make sure that they have good references, you make sure they're actually good at their job. So most likely that's not the problem. But maybe your growth is messy because the business is asking marketing to solve problems that sit very much upstream. And that, my friend, is the real risk. Not just that you spend more money, that you keep solving the wrong problem while the right one keeps getting more and more expensive. So before you approve another campaign, reshuffle another budget, ask your team for more leads, you have to ask the harder question. Are we fixing marketing, or are we finally diagnosing the break in the system? Because if you get that wrong, more marketing is not going to save you. It's just going to take the wrong machine and it's going to make it run louder and louder. So guys, this is such the basis of what we do and what we do every single day. And I'm very passionate about this because it's really hard to diagnose this from the inside. So guys, if you think that someone you know would benefit from this podcast, please send this over to them. Shares are really helpful. And from that algorithm standpoint, again, please hit that follow button. I know from what we see, most people who are listening to this do not hit the follow button. So if that's you, it would be so beneficial to get you to hit that follow button just so we can get this episode in more earbuds. So guys, thank you so much for your time, and I'll talk to you next time.